If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bytes podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bytes. I'm Ben, and this is Syya. And today we want to talk about gratitude and its effect on business. You know what? Everybody sits there and says, well, I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for that. But are you really? Are you really thankful, or are you just using platitudes? And people can tell the difference. People can absolutely tell the difference whether you're expecting something, whether you think that it's your right, whether you're trying to be nice just to be politically correct, or whether you actually have grace and gratitude. And I am a big believer of when we're gracious, when we have gratitude, when we care about the people that we do business with, and the people on our teams for that matter, business gets better. Business gets better because when you care about people and genuinely care about people, they tend to care about you and your business and your success. So, Syya, let's gnaw on this.
Well, my friend, look, let me pull my mic in a little bit closer here. No,
There we
I
go.
I think we are inherently, if we want to, again, I always say we're inherently selfish people, and I will set that premise as well. But I do believe that in our souls, we all would like to fancy ourselves good people, right? And as such, you think that you are trying to strive to some degree to be a good person, to genuinely live in gratitude, to be grateful
Mm-hmm.
for things that are done for you. But the truth of the matter is, truth, truth, truth. Let's just be very brutally honest, everyone. And whoever's listening, you tell me if I'm off my rocker. But we get so wrapped up in our inner worlds of life that we are selfish in that way, right? That we may not recognize it right away. We might be grateful after the fact of, like, when there's a tense situation, maybe someone helps you
Mm-hmm.
calm down and you're not in that, moment with them. So my answer to this about are we living gratitude, do we know it? Do we find it? Yes, you can if you're intentional. And it has to
Yes.
be top of mind, forefront, living with gratitude. And this is where I'm going to give credit to my journal friends, because they get up in the morning at some ungodly hour and they journal about gratitude and stuff, talk about things that they're grateful for. Because of that simple act and exercise, it does remain top of mind and forefront. So I do think that if you believe that that is something that you want to live by, that's your creed,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to always be very mindful of it. And I just don't see the majority of the population, myself included, doing it as disciplined as it requires. So that's my long-winded answer of, sure, we all like to say yes, but the answer is we probably aren't. I would say majority aren't.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's tough to be present and in the moment. It is very tough at times where things are going wrong, where somebody's, acted poorly against you, whether, you've just been fired at work or whatever, or you've lost a client or something, something horrific. It's very hard in the moment to see the silver lining. And the question is, do you just move on and become more and more bitter? Or do you sit there and say, hey, wait a second here. What can I learn from that? Because we're not, let's face it, we're all not going to be our best selves in a crisis. Whether those are big crises, little crises, whatever. But when stuff hits the fan and you're in the moment of a situation, let's face it, it's hard to be your best.
Yeah.
The people that can be all the time, the people that are, there's people I know that are totally and absolutely unflappable. And they're just go, so what did you really mean by that? and they're actually present and in the situation, whatever. And the people that can do that 100% of the time, kudos to them. And that's an amazing skill set. I'm not one of those people. Most of
Hmm.
the time, I can hold my cool. I can stay in a situation. I can do this. But you know what? There are times where I lose it. And the question is, do I take the time to go back an hour later, a day later, a week later to sit there and say, okay, what could I have done better? Or wait a second, let me give that person a call up and say, you know what? I didn't really handle that situation in the best way possible. I appreciate our relationship and let's talk about how we can fix this. And it's having the wherewithal in your system to say, you know what, Ben, you were acting like a jackass. You know, it may not be 100% your fault, but somebody has to step up and somebody has to make this right. And it's how you do it and when you do it and why you do it. That's the important thing. I remember growing up, especially with my son, every Friday night, we all got together for dinner. Friday nights are sacrosanct in our house. You're home for dinner on Friday nights. That's it. And we would go around the table every Friday night, whether it was just the three of us or we had people over, didn't matter if it was family or friends. And we go around the table and everybody had to say what they were thankful for that week and what they were grateful for that week. And sometimes it was little benign and banal things, and sometimes it was actually something that was like, oh, oh, that's that. I hadn't thought about it that way. But taking that time to go back and reflect
Hmm.
enabled me to become better. It enabled
Hmm.
me to sit there and say, wait a second here. You've done messed, in your words, you've done messed up, A-Rod.
Yep.
And, how do I make things better? And how do I make it better not only for myself, but for the people I was engaging with? And I'm usually so grateful that I do because it makes me a better person in the long run.
You know, you just had me thinking of a situation where, uh, you know, you don't know me as a person in real life, but I know you, we know each other after all these years chatting it up and
Right.
whatnot. But so I'm the kind of person that is like, I will give you the shirt off my back,
Sure.
until I don't,
Hmm.
right? And then when I don't, you done messed up AA wrong. Like I'm
And I ain't
done,
getting it
right?
back.
And it does strike me at times where it's like you want to give in a way where you're not expecting it as well. Like okay,
Hmm.
because I think when you give gratitude to something or someone for them for an action, whatever. There's a when you do good things for people, there's an assumption of are you doing it from your heart? Is it earnest versus are you doing it with the assumption of getting something back in return? And I think that's where there's always that little delicate dance,
Yes.
right? And so, it there's a graciousness, right? And then isn't gracious another form of gratitude, right? Like
Absolutely. Graciousness and
so
gratitude go hand in hand.
yeah, and just hearing you thinking and what my brain kind of drifted a little bit to this one thing is like, you know, sometimes when you do things, you don't necessarily want or demand it to be, sung from the, top towers and all that stuff. But you do at some degree want it to be acknowledged, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's where my brain was just kind of drifting just slightly a little bit of like, you know what? When we are showing gratitude to someone and something and for someone, it if you can, and it's an art
Hmm.
to do it in a way where it doesn't feel like, God bless you, thank you. You know what I mean? It's not like you know what I mean? Where it's not, where people mean it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real skill. And I really would love to hear from the audience because I feel like platitudes are often given and it rings so hollow and so false. What do you guys do out there that you have shown your gratitude towards someone in a way that worked. And you know what? I would love to hear the stories where it didn't, right? Where you're saying, hey,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Those are
And they're like,
better.
someone's like, F you back. And you're like, whoa, what just happened here? Like, I would love to see that. Yeah, no, I would absolutely love that. Yeah.
I have two thoughts on this, and it's interesting that you say because you're right. I mean, when you do something for other people, you know, there's something inside you, and you're right. That's the selfish, self-centered part of our body, and we all have that over our right shoulder, maybe over our left shoulder, that sits there and goes, "I want to be acknowledged." But the thought process in my mind, and as I get older, I can't control how other people react. All I can do is control how I act. I can put the gratitude and the graciousness and the outstretched hand into the world. If people bite it off, that's on them. You know, I know there's good people in the world. I know there's people that in the world are not so good. And I'm willing to admit that. I'm willing to give everybody the grace to provide gratitude and to enable the best, see the best angels of people. When they prove to me that they're not worthy of it, I'm the same way. They somehow fall off my radar. One way,
Hmm.
shape, or form, they fall off my radar. And it's gotten to a point where it's not even a scream or a dignified response anymore. Sometimes it's just like, you know what? Thanks a lot. And I move on. And in the meantime, you sit there and say, okay, the gratitude is, what did I learn from that? What did I learn from that situation? What being involved in that situation where somebody did take advantage of me, and I've had people take advantage of me of upwards of $50,000. What did I learn from interacting with those people? And how do I make sure that not only do I protect myself, but I don't put myself in a position where I'm not willing to trust anyone because somebody did, take 50 grand out of my back pocket.
Oh, yeah.
So, I can't paint every single person with the same brush. But on the other hand, I need to make sure that I don't get fooled twice, because if I get fooled twice, hey, listen, that's on me. It just means that I have to have my spidey sense out a little more, and I got to put policies and procedures and systems in place to be able to go check, 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 trust and verify, trust and verify, trust and verify. But my gratitude around that is that somebody taught me a lesson that didn't bankrupt me, that didn't, make me sell my house, that didn't, make me, close down my business to learn that lesson. Okay, yeah, it cost me money. Okay, money I can get back. Money I can always get back, but I still had my pride, I still had my dignity, I still had my reputation, and I can move forward. And
Oof.
I think that took time. Trust me, that didn't come in the moment. That took time, and it took weeks and months before I was over being angry and over being vengeful and deciding what was I going to take this person to court? What was I going to do? How was I going to deal with this? And I eventually realized that saying it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth expending more bad energy.
Yep.
It was better to sit there and say, okay, what's next and how do I make sure that doesn't happen again?
Ah.
And for that, I was grateful that
Ugh.
finally came to that conclusion.
Ah. You're totally reminding me of another situation of it was a painful learning lesson. I won't go into too much detail, but I will say this much. Basically a client never paid for work and I was paying out of my own pocket for the
Sure.
team that was working and all that stuff. And it just struck me is and the sad part of it is I'm no longer speaking to those said people, right? So and it was it's just unfortunate, right? Because to me it's like, dude, I gave you guys like gigs that were pretty freaking sweet, like try not to badmouth me, right? Type of thing. But I don't want to focus on that, but what I will say this, I am grateful for the experience of that. It was a painful, could have bought a freaking nice car with that painful lesson, but I would say it has taught me very quickly as a business owner some of the things that you need to take care of before you you lift your finger up for any work,
Hmm.
right? And I'm really grateful for the fact that it also helped me really see people when when you don't have anything to offer them anymore, how they treat you. And I'm really grateful for that experience. And so that is something where it's painful, but I think it's those moments of learning from something that you can't help but even through the midst of you having to rise up like a phoenix out of those ashes, if we didn't have those experiences, imagine how foolish we would have been, or naive, not foolish, but naive, we might
Right.
be going through life because we haven't had to rebuild ourselves and come back up again. So in the way I think with this conversation, where I'm kind of just going with is how great it can be to learn from a life lesson. And it could be a pleasant lesson too. It just happens to
Yeah.
be you and me, Ben. We feel things real badly and goodly, you know. But I think in the end result of it all is I'm grateful for having to have experienced it, period. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think, as we land this plane, because it's time to land, we need to realize that the good, the bad, and the ugly can all teach us things, and we need to be great. We need to be gracious and have some gratitude towards that. Gratitude for the experiences that we've had, for the people that we've met, the relationships that we've formed. Whether they're good or they're bad, they're all going to teach us something. They're all going to make us a little bit better, and they're going to make us the person that we're becoming, and and allow us to grow and change and evolve. And I think that if we use that philosophy moving forward, we have the ability to be more gracious and have better gratitude. And when we do that, people are going to see that, and it's going to reflect positively not only on us, but on our relationships, our businesses, and our lives. So, shall we leave it there?
I think we should leave that there. That was good. I think it's I hope hopefully we gave everyone an opportunity to know on this.
I love it. I'm Ben,
I'm Sia.
and we'll see you soon.
Hey, hey, hey! Thanks for listening to another episode of Not On This Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. If you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at IamBenBaker.com or me at BrilliantBeanMedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. See you next week for another episode of Not On This Business Bites.